Oseo. That's a
Oseo.
Cherokee greeting, and wave the great feather for the good of it. Here I am. We're doing Easter Sunday. Now last week it was Palm Sunday, and I did the Yaqui Easter ceremony, Waima, like that, with the kind of forecast for the Holy Week, because I expected that I wouldn't be here on this Easter Sunday. Usually we go out to Yaqumba, to Amadeo Reyes. It's kind of a desert ceremony blessing the earth. But yesterday a big storm came in, and snowed and rained and flood. So here I am. I put this all together today because I don't want to pass up this opportunity for the Easter Sunday. And inspiration for this, actually, this is really amazing. I get a lot of channels from Mexico on the TV. And so I was watching, this was Friday evening, I was watching the noticias from Tijuana, like that. So they were going around seeing what people were doing, for that Good Friday, and, different versions. And then they came upon, the cameraman and the guy that talks, came upon a procession, religious passion play procession, meaning there was a person who was carrying a cross, a person who had some kind of like white robes, like that, and walking on the streets of downtown Tijuana. It almost looked like it was in the evening, because sometimes it looked dark, but then I could see some of the street signs there. And behind the cross bearer there was some other people that maybe they were in costumes, I'm not sure. But then there was quite a throng of people immediately following them. And these people were all carrying signs in Spanish and waving flags, a lot of flags. And these flags were Palestinian flags. So this was very strange. I have been seeing on the news here and there, you all have seen in this country, people protesting about the war in Gaza, and being pro-Palestinian and having a lot of flags. So I'm suddenly seeing this kind of a mixture of, religious procession with all these people with these many Palestinian flags. And eventually, this cross that the person was bearing, we call this, the Nazareno, the one who was consecrated. This was a big white blocky cross. I couldn't tell you what it was made of. I couldn't tell that at all. But eventually, wherever they arrived at, the person bearing the cross kind of shouldered the cross into an upright position. And looked like, that the person kind of made a caressing gesture on the cross. I remember seeing that. And then the next frame was this person came over to the camera and is talking to the news camera. And this person, this Nazareno, turns out to be a woman. She's a woman, and she has a kind of something that makes it look like a crown of thorns, and she have kind of blood streaming, painted on her face, And what she said in Spanish, she said, "We are doing this for the Palestinians. That's what this is for." So this was amazing, because suddenly then I have to, do some shifting around here. This is very different. I never even thought of Palestinians in Tijuana. But evidently they were out in good form, good force, like that. And to realize that the character, personality, deity, whatever you like to call Jesus Cristo, is a Palestinian. Is a Palestinian. He's also called the Nazareno. The Nazareno also means that he's from that place which is in the northern part of Palestine. So that really became an inspiration for me in this. Suddenly, when I saw it that we weren't going to do our usual going out to Yaqui. So I right away got my drawing here. This is my drawing. And this is, you know, the Nazareno. It means, you know, he's consecrated. And so it fits in with the Passion. But I'm being very specific. This, what I saw on the Tijuana News, actually inspired me to find my drawing here and put it up for this. And so it's inspired everything else I've put into this today here. I'm trying to say, we have these language layers in this whole subject, topic, religion, and so forth. You know, you can go back, you know, starting English, you can say, then you could say Latin, Roman, and then you can say Greek, and then you can say Egyptian, and then you can say Hebrew. It keeps going back like that. Behind it all is Sumer. The ancient Sumer we know about because, I don't know, probably in the last 100 years or so, there's been so much research, scholarship, and everything they found. They found these clay tablets. Sumer is about, I think, where Iraq is, if I got that right. That's the lower part of the Euphrates River. Very ancient, and that these clay tablets are pressed with some tool that we call cuneiform, and it's been deciphered, and some of them have been translated. There's still many, many, many more that have not yet been translated. But that's what's behind this whole religion, subject, and everything. It goes way back. And it seems to me, because the tablets we have, they reckon are about 6,000 years old. But the information in it must be older than that. And Egypt seems to be at the same time, you know, developing their way of writing and recording. And most of it, what we have, has to have come from tombs, things like that. So behind all this, we have words, we have names that are, they might be Greek, they might be Latin, they might be Hebrew. But behind that, there is the Sumer. The language of Sumer is not in the language family of the Hebrew, which is Semitic, or the Arabic language, or the Egyptian language. It's, I don't know what language family they call it, but it's a different language family. So in this particular portrait that I have here, you know, for the Nazareno, he is the consecrated. In the Sumer, it would Tibareti. Tibareti would mean coming to the creation anointed, the Son of Man. So he's somebody of the people. Definitely, the Son of Man means, you know, somebody definitely has come from the people. So that's the kind of introduction here. And the whole passion play and everything, the sacrifice that's in it, and so forth. This has many, many layers to it. In Mexico, I was a student. I was a graduate art student to start with. Graduate art student. And fortunately, when I was in Mexico City, I met somebody, and she was Victoria, and she was a modern Zapotec person who really took me, you know, under her arm and took me around every place. Took me, you know, to all the sacred places, the temples. Took me to, you know, meet the Virgen de Guadalupe. Took me to Oaxaca, to Monte Alban, to Mitla, and took me to the Temple of Miahuatlan in Oaxaca. And in Oaxaca, in that temple, I had some really spiritual experience. And then I can come over here to see this drawing here. This is what appeared to me there in the Temple of Miahuatlan. And so this is my drawing, rendering, from that experience in Mexico. it's a person. It's, you know, a holy person, a medicine person. We will call them as a medicine person, and she has a symbol here on her tunic that looks like the symbol for the Phoenician Tanit. And over here I have a figure of that's been carved. I've also seen one like this in Mexico that was carved from wood. And so there is this relationship, and in this time I'm presenting this all as Easter is a time of transformation. Actually, the name Easter is an English word for the goddess or queen of spring. And it's a time where powers are changing, where there is renewal, and even the resurrection has come into it. But it all started out, you know, as learning, you know, the balance with nature. So spring, renewal, all of those things that take place at this time. So I'm kind of rendering this. And here you see this is bougainvillea. This during this Holy Week, we just brought this back from Borrego Springs. So we have her inside here where it would be more comfortable, because outside right now it's been very cold and rainy, and she might not like that. So here she really fits in with the theme. The bougainvillea is a French name, of course, for the bow. The bow means the branch. So putting it right here together with this, I think from the book of Enoch, you know, he says, "Behold the man whose name is the branch." So I get to have that there here. So I've kept most of the things that I had for last week's Palm Sunday. You know, our relatives are down here, Comadre Alvarez and Anita and Luis Masso, and up here, you know, Cheto's carving and the floor from the top of the Tiopo, and all of that here. And if we can go farther over there, I especially have this modern little goddess here. I think she has fruits and other good things around her, so she looks, you know, very contemporary for our feelings here, with the egg, like a piñata egg. And above here there is a Pascola mask. This Pascola mask I found there in Tucson. Tucson is the way the Yaquis say it. And it looks to me that it would be, I think, a rooster, you know, crowing. And I don't know if the camera can see it, but on the head of the mast on each side there's a kind of cross. This kind of cross means the sun. So I think that goes with this whole scene here. And of course I've been talking about the rabbit and Osiris and how the rabbit fits into all of this. As you come down there, I got a couple of rabbits, and in the middle there is a deer. This deer could be, I don't know, it could be a fawn or it could be a doe. And I have a grass loop, you know, around her head, as, you know, a symbol of her. In the Yaqui culture, the deer and the culture of that is a magical place. It's like another world. It really is another world over there, here. And along with this whole theme of the passion play and myth time and all of that, the deer, the ramada, the pascola, all of this still maintains I want to try to say, an independent of all the other things as the wild world, the huyania, the world that not entered in by humans, and the sayania, which now in the desert is very evident with a lot of little flowers growing on the ground that ostensibly could be the browsing flowers for the deer. And so the deer is also the fawn, the magical deer in the magical place of mist Blue Mountains Magic Patio, it would be called here. And of course down below I have the giant egg. You know, that's the most unique Easter egg I've ever seen. And so I really like it because it's woven as a basket. And since Easter baskets seem to be also something very ancient and has come along in all of this here. Now I'm going to try to introduce something else, and that is, we can go way over to my drawing over there. This drawing is Gistiana, I was going to say that. She's like the vine of heaven. She's also called, you know, the root of the vine. In the Sumer, the character of Christ that we're kind of referring to it that way is also Gishtin, meaning the vine. In Balboa Park, you know, for the World's Fair, they did a lot of wonderful construction of things to capture, I don't know, the world of Europe of the 19th century. But they used all this symbolism, you know, from that world in which you do have columns, you know, with grapevines winding around them as part of the symbolism that they were making in the park here. So here, this figure I have drawn, you know, Gistiana, heaven is like Ana, like that. And that reminds me, we have this situation going on, a war, they call it, there, of Israel and the Palestinians. That world there, they even are calling it the Holy Land, is so rich and many layered in history. Recently, since all this started, there was a man who was a professor of Arab studies, you know, appearing on KBBS, I think, like that. And he referred to the Palestinians as indigenous. These are indigenous people. Well, that's very, very interesting. Who are the indigenous people of that country? I even have a book, Palestine, whose land is it? So the name Canaan is kind of have different layers to it. The first and the original is that it's Ni Ananu. It is basically, it means that where that is situated at the very end of the Mediterranean, it is the new moon, is the crescent of the new moon, and that's Inaru. Inaru is, you know, the queen or the goddess of the new moon. So it's also called, you know, her sofa, you know, her seat, her bed, anything like that. It's like that there. And so interesting, the Palestinians I see and their symbols on the flags and ambulances still have the crescent, That would make them, at least, you know, on sympathy with the indigenous Canaanites. Canaanite gets a little bit difficult, but what's happened is that the Hebrew part of it comes in, and that they've kind of layered over on that with another name. That is Canaan. So you're getting the Canaan out of it. And they're translating that as the Promised Land. And that's a lot what we see is going on there. But it is a tiny example of seeing how here and there, can say how often or something, the Hebrew is overlaying something that's earlier, and it is not conjoined into the Semitic language. So that's something very much to bear in mind with all of this, because this individual who is being celebrated, consecrated, died, resurrected, all of that, how all that goes together with a very, very ancient culture that has been going on for a long time. Remember, I mentioned last time that Chief Joseph here, when he was arrested by the army, they confiscated this little square clay tablet from Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia, Sumer, Babylonia, all the same place there. And now Iraq. So how did this man have that from that world so far away and so long ago? Out here east of here, the Coyote, the Moruita, also their mythical or spiritual people called the Nukatum shows quite a few names that are definitely from there, definitely, as well as they show that they know Osiris and they know Horus, his son, the hawk. So we have a lot of relation to that. And so that's all figuring in here. Yana is, first of all, she is the woman in disguise. That's the Inanna part of her. So when you look up there, here's my rendering. This is a sky woman as she is leaving the sky, leaving heaven and plummeting, diving I should say, to the earth, which here, this is in Native America. This is in Iroquois. And as she is, diving from the sky, the turtle comes up, to meet her. So that we get here in Native America, Turtle Island. Well, this is very interesting because it exactly corresponds with the ancient Sumer Gistnyana. That's what it is. She comes from the sky and she comes to the earth and she gets very involved in the earth. She is the, what I can say, the prior to the Greek Dionysus. Dionysus, he's the god of divine, the wine. So that definitely figures in here with her. She is definitely that. The saying in the reference to the Christ, people would say, he is the vine in my blood. And so she is here. And that is very, very fertile because through this whole episode of Christianity and the sacrifice and the renewals and everything, she's coming through. She's coming through. She brings she's outside of the patriarchy. She's not in that consciousness. And that's the whole lesson and message of her in this whole episode here. So I wanted to definitely try to bring that through since we are here still in March. We are in Women's Herstory Month, and that Easter is also her. She has Easter here. And one thing I was going to read, I almost passed it up here. This is going back to the Passion of Christ. So you go back to that picture there. When is a horse not a horse? When it's only the tail of something else. Christ, transfixed by a pike, writhing as the harpooned whale, because of twists and turns of his figurative word, employed by his spirit to converse with his soul. Who knows who, under the robe? Pull down the curtain, nobody's certain. Lift up that dress to see the rest. He bleeds to fill this cup with need. I weep to squeeze his need for me. Whipped to soak a lash with pain, his body in mine makes bloody rain. The kingdom within is declared in red. So I should have read that earlier, but that's what goes together with this. It's likely because in Mexico you really have still very, very evident is the Mediterranean. Even, the 16th century so-called Spaniards, they were Mediterraneans also. So the Mediterranean is definitely an evidence there. The giant pyramids, we might call them there in Mexico, especially Teotihuacan, they're not anywhere near the age of those in Egypt. But the way that they have been mathematically figured to construct them, it's evident who did that. And that is, we would say, engineers from Mesopotamia. And the math involved in that, proves it. Also, it's on the record that the Spanish clerics recognized that the people, the Aztecs they're referring to, were speaking in Hebrew. And when they reported that, the bishop, whoever he was, said, "Yeah, I know, brother, but they are Indians." So they knew that. They knew that. So there's very, very much evidence, of the Mediterranean in Mexico. And I was very, very fortunate to absorb, assimilate, and learn from that. And it continued when I came to Guadalupe at the invitation of Senor Juan Casillas here. So he continued to, I must say, inform me of the realities and the depth in the Yaqui culture and its ceremony. So I definitely want to mention that. And to go with all of this, now I want to invite and bring into my Coyote talk for Easter Sunday Claudia, who's behind this camera. She has been taught from Pete of the House of Alvarez. He was a deer singer, he is a deer singer, and that she learned from him the songs. They call the Maso Wibicum. The Maso Wibicum are the deer songs. And she's going to actually perform that for us in this talk, and that will conclude my Coyote talks for this Easter Sunday. And so here she's going to take her place.
In deep gratitude for all the years that I have spent in Guadalupe, the village in Guadalupe, and with the Yaqui family and my comadre Maria Alvarez and Pete, who's given me the opportunity to sing these songs. I feel most grateful for this time as I share with you a few songs that I have learned for Pascua. Vasamuela, Vasamuela, Aesakaka, Vavasiwe, Vasamuela, Kumayin, Hawaii, Samento, Vavasiwe, Vasamuela. Una mansuse, while vetana, malo chilo, nai, sukon, sonoloa, pueakai, Vasamuela, Vasamuela, Aesakaka, Vavasiwe, Vasamuela, Kumayin, Hawaii, Samento, Vavasiwe, Vasamuela. Kwame yo kau puikiki, muna mansu yo kau sabebe pasunkia, basa soy sasaka. Kwame yo kau puikiki, muna mansu yo kau sabebe pasunkia, masa soy pasaka. Una mansu se while vetana, malo chilo nae sukon sanaloa pueaka. Kwame yo kau puikiki, muna mansu yo kau sabebe pasunkia, basa soy sasaka. Ao sempo kakita kulo leg, dosa leg se wakanda bicha saila. Ao sempo kakita, dosa leg se wakanda bicha saila. Ao sempo kakita, dosa leg se wakanda bicha saila. Ao sempo kakita, dosa leg se wakanda bicha saila. Muna mansu se while vetana, malo chico nae sukon sanolawa pueakai. Ao sempo kakita, dosa leg se wakanda bicha saila.
noches, gracias.